Okay. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. Happy Good Friday to those of you who celebrate Good Friday. Happy no day of school to everybody, and happy just regular Friday to all the adults who just enjoy Friday. All right. So today's STEM Now is very very special because we have a phenomenal guest speaker, Mr. Rich Benoit. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It reminds me of the wrestler Benoit. All right. So first thing, social emotional check. How's your heart? How's your heart? And you can raise virtual hands. I can actually see you on my other laptop. What are we grateful for? What are we grateful for? Amaya.
I'm grateful to have the guest speaker here today.
Oh, that was a that I did not pay her to say that. I did not. And let me just add, Amaya is our student of the month for the month of February. She's phenomenal. But thank you. Why are you expound so they don't know that they don't think that we planned that? Why are you grateful besides just that he's here? Why?
Because I feel like I'm going to learn a lot more um, about Teslas than what I know.
That's good. Our speaker, Mr. Rich Benoit, aka Rich Rebuilds. He's the founder of Electrified Garage. I just looked on the website last night and there is an electrified garage that opened up down south, like an hour or south of us, you guys. We should take a field trip there. I think. I'm saying that. I don't. Okay. Okay, let me slow down. But it's not that far from us. It's in Dana, Florida, which is like Fort Lauderdale area for us, Rich. We just call that Fort Lauderdale. So he has multiple locations now. He's an electrical engineer, mechanic, a technician, an innovator, and a very nice guy who's taking over the world one Tesla at a time. What I love as I look at Rich's YouTube, I've been following Rich on Instagram for about a year because I'm a future Tesla owner. I've test driven a Tesla every year except for last year due to the pandemic. That's going to be my next car. I've been speaking it for years, right? And so when I came across his page, I just thought he was so cool and very gutsy and very bold. So the fact that he is a very brilliant guy, a bold guy who is a vlogger, a YouTuber with over 1.9 million subscribers on YouTube and millions of people on his other social platforms, that lets you know that you can be intellectual, you can be innovative, you can be artistic, you can be all these things. You don't have to be in a box, and you can have success the way you want it and not let anybody put you in a box, not even Tesla, as much as we love Tesla. So I couldn't think of anybody who could teach you about technology and engineering better than this man. I reached out to him. He reached back really quickly. And I'm just so glad he calls himself Uncle Rich on email. So I can't say anything better besides thank you and welcome to Uncle Rich, aka Rich Rebuilds, aka Rich Benoit. So you guys give him a virtual clap, virtual clap, virtual clap. Unmute.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can you guys see me okay and hear me? Oh, you can. Perfect. All right.
Yeah, we can.
All right. Perfect. Make sure I can't see myself. I'm just like, how do I look? How do I look right now? I can't tell. Do I look good? All right. Perfect. A couple of things I want to say after seeing that presentation first is that I am very impressed with the setup that you all have here right now. Your technology setup is very impressive. To some, it might not seem that way, but after being, I mean, most of my day consists of being in meetings, but your setup is very efficient. It's well thought out. And I think the kids, you should be very proud of that because the hard work that she puts into this it's definitely shining through. So very nice job there. Number two, I wanted to say that the video that you saw of me maybe 2 or 3 minutes ago where I had where my business partner and I were talking about how we started the business, I think about like 3 million people saw that video. That is the first time I have ever seen that video. So you showing that video to me right now is the first time I've ever seen it. And I'll tell you why, is because I hate looking at myself on camera and on video. I hate it. 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 So after I make a video, I never watch it again. And the reason why is because I don't like looking at my face. I don't like looking at my mannerisms. Like after you look at yourself talk in a video camera and you play it back, you're just like, but you can't watch it and stuff. But I'm the same way. So whenever I see something like that I know a lot of people are going to watch, I tend to shy away from it because it makes me so nervous. But before I start, I have to admit, I'm actually getting a little emotional right now, right? And I'll tell you why. It's in my profession and profession, it's very rare that I get to be surrounded by people that look like me. You know what I mean? It's not a very common thing. So like seeing all your faces, it's emotional for me because people that, you know, look a certain way, it's not as common especially in my field. So you should be very, very proud of yourselves and thank you for taking the time to listen to me because this is big for me. You know, when you all reached out and said, hey, I think at first it was gonna be just a quick Q&A. I was like, no, I gotta talk to these kids. I want to see these kids myself. So here I am. So thank you very much for that. Just real quick about me. I don't know what you may have seen on the internet, but I have a really easy, humble beginnings. I grew up in a place in Boston, the inner city in Boston. So I was an inner city kid, and I was a latchkey kid. And a latchkey kid means that when my mom and dad used to work so hard and they were never home, so what I would do is I would go to school, I'd walk to school, and a latchkey means that I'd have the key to the house and I would let myself in. And when I got home, no one would be home. So I had to make myself food. I had to do the whole thing, do my homework myself. And then when my mother got home around 7 or 8 o'clock, she'd pretty much just check my homework and and I'd go to bed. So it wasn't very frequently I was home with someone because my parents were always working. They worked 2-3 jobs. And when I was home so much by myself, that's when I really started getting into things. So you know how like I fix Teslas now. My curiosity from being home so much is kind of what led into what I do now. So like I was home when I was bored. I was like, let me pick something up. I'm like, oh, look, a marker. How does a marker work? You undo the cap and you think to yourself, okay, how does the ink get in there? I'd cut the top off, pull it out, and I'd say, okay, it's a tube that's filled with ink. And when it runs out here, gravity naturally pulls it down until all the ink's on the paper and you call it a day. And then I would take it apart and I would just throw it away. So that's my biggest thing. I would take things apart, throw it away, take things apart, throw it away, and just kind of get a general idea as to how things worked. And that slowly graduated into bigger things like electronics. I would take out a marker apart, and I would take a speaker apart just to figure out how things work because I was so naturally curious about it. And that's really how things led into and fostered into what I do today. Now, I will say one thing about you guys, and it's very important to note this, just like general advice. Doing all of the things that I did, taking things apart, breaking my mom's stuff, my aunt saying, hey, can you fix my VCR? I don't know if you know what even a VCR is nowadays because they're so outdated. But she had a VCR that I fixed. I took it apart and I couldn't put it back together. So what I'm saying to everyone, just real quick, is the things you do now, the things that interest you, your hobbies, and the things you just like to do when you're not around people are the things that are going to kind of influence the person that you're going to be in 10, 15, 20 years. So your hobbies now, like let's just say you like video games, or you just like going for nature walks, or just, or you like animals at the zoo, very basic things like that. You never know because those things could foster a life for you later on. I didn't know personally that when I was taking these things apart, I was constantly learning. Like I was learning about how things work. Like, I mean, we never stop learning as people. Like, you guys are learning now. I'm still learning. I'm learning about you. I'm learning about the world around me. You never stop actually learning, but the things you learn and pick up on are going to have influences to you later on in life, like it did for me. Like, for example, taking stuff apart, and 10, 15 years later, actually no, 20 years later, I'm still taking things apart. I'm still doing the things that I love doing even when I was a child. So, as a quick advice to you, the things that you love, provided you're not like hurting anyone, the things that you love, don't stop doing them. Keep doing them, because that's going to keep you and help you maintain, like, as a person and as an individual. And then you could also strive for things later too. If you're into animals, you can learn more about animals, be a zookeeper, whatever you want to do. So on to that. After that, I left my mom's house. My mom and dad split up, and I went to go live with my father about probably an hour and a half away from my mom. And unfortunately, that caused a lot of turmoil too, because I was in a new area, didn't know anyone, I hated my school, etc. But I followed the same path. I still love taking things apart, and in my spare time, my dad was an electrical engineer. He had a bunch of monitors and all kinds of electronics. I would smash those, take those apart. I was still doing the same things I was doing years ago. And after that, when I was in high school, followed the same methodology. And then when I was about to graduate high school, I had a decision to make. The option was, I love taking things apart, but I also love cars. I mean, a lot of us love cars, but it's the decision making was, what do I do? Do I follow my passion of taking things apart? I don't know what that would lead into. Or do I just essentially go to a regular school, find a job that I want to do, and then just keep going things in the mix? And I remember my father and we had a falling out, and he said, the things that you want to do, they don't make any money. So what's the point of doing them? Like, I know you want to follow your dreams and stuff, but that's not going to make you any money in the long run. Therefore, you should do this. And as a kid, I had to listen to him. It's like any one of us, if we were to say, hey, you know what, mom and dad, I just want to play video games all day. That's all I want to do. And to some people, they may say, that sounds ridiculous. Like, I don't want you to playing video games all day. Like, there's no career in that. You can't do that. So I ended up going to school. I went to school for computer science. I graduated and I got a job doing, programming stuff. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. Computer science as a major, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't enjoy being a programmer because what I was doing for programming, I was pretty much in a room by myself and I couldn't get a chance to talk to people. So once I realized that that really wasn't the thing for me, I started gravitating towards taking things apart again. Remember from a while ago, I'll take things apart. So I said to myself, I love cars. I love taking things apart. I really want a nice car, right? And at that time, I think the nicest, coolest car you can get, it was a Tesla. So I'm like, you know what? I'm cheap. I didn't have the money. I really want this car. How do I figure out creative ways to get the things I want when I don't have the proper resources, which was money at the time? And you know what? I said to myself, I got to try this. I got to go for it. I ended up buying a car that was underwater. Like, it was a Tesla's underwater. I figured, how hard could it be? I just throw it in a bag of rice. I do my thing, and then the car works again, right? Like if you drop your cell phone in the toilet or something. And it taught me a really strong lesson, because I'm not an engineer. I know that last slide said I was an electrical engineer. I am not an electrical engineer. I didn't go to school for it. But another lesson is, don't let that stop you from doing things. Just because someone labels you as not having a certain title, okay, you're not an engineer, you're not a mechanic, you're not this, I'm not that. Don't let that deter you from doing the things that you want to do anyways. Because a lot of the times when someone tells you something, it comes from a place of fear themselves. A lot of them are fearful because they don't know how to do it themselves. Therefore, they assume that you don't know how to do it either. And what they've been told is that you could only do these certain things if you are a certain person. So they said, you're not a mechanic, you know, you can't fix this yourself, so I wouldn't waste your time. And, you know, fast forward the clock, I bought one. I spent 6 months just taking it apart. Again, no experience. All I had was basic tools. I took it apart. It got really, really intense. All the electronics were done. I threw them all away. And because Tesla wouldn't sell me the parts to fix it because the car was so new, I ended up buying another Tesla that was hit in the front, and I actually mixed the two cars together. Now, I know this sounds really complicated. You're like, wow, this guy's a genius. This is crazy. It's really not. It was more time consuming than anything. And because I had that same mindset of how things are taken apart, I applied that to what I knew about what I did in the past, and I was able to reassemble it. So I know it sounds crazy and like, oh, Bubba, you're so smart. Not really. I'm just a regular dude that's just figuring things out as I go along. But that's really it. That's kind of what led me to the point where I am today. And the biggest thing I could think of for you guys is just looking back at a lot of the things in the past is never be scared to take risks, I guess you could say. I know you guys are a little bit young. You may not really understand the full depth of what it means to take a risk, but if you love something and you're dedicated to something, and just think about what you love to do now and think about how you could continue to do that, that's what life is all about for me right now. And a lot of things due to the internet, and I'm sure you've heard of, TikTok. Everyone's on TikTok now. Everyone's on Facebook now and Instagram and all that good stuff. A long time ago, people couldn't really show the world what they wanted to do. Like, for example, you guys might be into some weird stuff or things that you guys think is weird. Sorry, things that other people might think is weird, but you guys love to do. Let's just say someone loves to prune plants, or someone loves to, take care of rescue dogs and things like that. A long time ago, I never really had the opportunity to show people what I love to do, because when I was building that Tesla that I started building, I was doing it on an internet chat forum. There was no videos. There was no YouTube. There was YouTube, but it was a lot smaller back then. It was me just in a little internet chat forum saying, hey, look at this picture I just uploaded, and kind of doing basic things like that. The reason why you all are so lucky is because you all have things like platforms like, TikTok and Facebook and all things like that to show what you all love to do and to reach a wider audience. So that's very important. The other important thing too is also having a good foundation. Now, I know everyone wants to go off and like start a YouTube channel and become some millionaire overnight, but you have to have a really good foundation for it. And it's the essentials. It's basic stuff like knowing your proper math skills. Because if someone says, hey, look, you know what? We love your videos that you make on TikTok about doing certain things. We're going to give you this deal. We're going to give you $1 a day, for the next year, and you're going to love it. And you got to think to yourself, okay, quick math, that's only $360 something. That's not really worth it. So like knowing the basics, knowing math, knowing the fundamentals of science, knowing the fundamentals of even English and language help you build that foundation to make you a more successful person later on. And even though I didn't really go to school for what I did now, because when I was in school, trust me, I had no idea I was going to be fixing Teslas and all that good stuff. But having those foundations and knowing a lot of the basic sciences behind things and math and other things like that, even social studies, knowing the world around you is very important too, really helped me kind of build upon the person that I am today. So all those things are very important. So before you run off and say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, make sure your fundamentals are right, because if they're not, you probably won't get as far as you've hoped. But yeah, that's just me rambling. I don't even know what else to what else to say or answer. What, I guess, what kind of questions do you all have for me before? I don't want to go on and bore you guys to death. I want this to be more interactive.
Yes.
What do you have for me?
Yes. First, I want to say I teach the students that every lesson we go through the acronym of STEM: science, technology, engineering, and math. And when we go through the letter E for engineering, I always let them know, like Tinkerbell, engineer is a tinkerer. So even though you say you're not an engineer, I specifically tell them that you are an engineer because they're engineering. What you do, because we don't have to wait for somebody to W the engineer, even though you didn't learn in school, right? Just like an artist doesn't have to go to school to get a degree in art, visual art. They're artists, you know. Somebody's going to say it's not art, somebody's going to say it is. But what you're doing by definition, which is to build, rebuild, reverse engineer, redesign, remodel, that is engineering. So I program that into them, and I'm affirming you, letting you know that you are engineer.
Yay.
I'm right. And you're right too. So you don't need the paper. You're doing exceedingly more than the people who have gotten their degree from whatever university, from Harvard or wherever they went, because this is really what it's about. So you're an engineer for sure. By definition, at the core of it, you really, really are.
Okay, so the question is, what did you do when you said that the Tesla place couldn't sell you the parts for the car? What did you do? Like, how did you get the parts to do it?
That's a very good question. I kind of skimmed over that a little bit. But so the biggest thing was when you're fixing something, a lot of the times the company that makes the product will sell you the parts to fix it because, you know, car companies sell parts. Tesla's philosophy was not to do that because Tesla does not want people fixing their own cars because they think that they're not qualified to fix it, and therefore only Tesla certified technicians could fix it. So what I ended up doing, because I needed the parts, I actually ended up buying another car that was hit. And it was in a front end collision, so the entire front end of the car was all messed up. So I actually ended up getting another car and taking the parts from that car to put into the car that I needed to get fixed because they wouldn't sell me anything. So I had to get pretty creative with it.
Next was Lanaya Thorpe.
My question was, even if it didn't work out, what was your next plan?
Very, very good question. I was very lucky because when I got out of school, I was working in a regular IT job, just like fixing computers and, fixing networks and servers and things like that. And the opportunity came for me to leave that job and just start a shop and work on that full time. So my backup plan the entire time was probably just to go back to IT work. And that's a very good question too, because you should always have a backup and fail-safe plan just in case. Like, there's always a number one thing that you really want to do. But a lot of the times, those things might not be viable for the long term. Like, I don't know where our business is going to take me. Realistically speaking, our business could be shut down tomorrow. So having a solid backup plan, I still have a degree for computer science. I would go back to fixing computers.
But next is Josiah Victorin, our December student of the month. If he's ready, I don't know if he's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
So my question is, I know you spoke about how, like when your dad was telling you, oh, you shouldn't do this because it's not going to really make you money. But is there something that somebody, doesn't have to be anybody specific, but is there something that somebody or a crowd or something that you saw that really stuck to you and like kind of brought you down and was like, dang, maybe I can't do this?
Oh man, yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, there were a lot of instances where I thought that I couldn't do it and others thought that I couldn't do it either. For example, my mother to this day, she says, I don't know, like, are you doing okay financially? Like, how do you make money? Like, what are you doing? Do you need something? What's going on? A lot of people aren't really sure about what your skill set is, what you really do, and what you're capable of. So when I was going through that, when my dad said, you know what, this isn't going to work, you're not going to make any money out of this, or when friends were like, you can't fix this car, it was a lot of it was the motivation got very, very low at certain times because I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. When people are negative in that sense, sometimes you tend to doubt yourself, like, wow, am I worthy? Can I really do this? And what you should do in those situations is kind of go back to your fundamentals and say to yourself, what's important to me? Because at the end of the day, really you're number one. You're number one. Your parents aren't always going to be there to kind of tell you and guide you and tell you what to do and show you the ropes. And you might not always necessarily have, a mentor to show you those things. Always go with your gut. Go with what you believe in. And if you love to do it, provided you're not hurting anyone, just go for it and make sure you stick to that. That's very important.
Let's see. I think Paul Lindsay was next.
When you said you were a latchkey kid, I kind of relate to that a lot because I'm home alone right now. And when I'm home alone, I really like staring at the sky because I'm really interested in space. Okay. And sometimes at night, I would go outside and just like stare into the sky. And my dad once like came home early and saw me doing that. And like I told him I wanted to be an astronomer. And he was like, that's not going to really make you a lot of money. And I lose interest in things real quick. And should I just like go for it or?
What's going to bring you a lot of happiness? Even life is funny because everyone could pump you up and say, yeah, follow your dreams and do it. It's going to be great. But it doesn't always work out that way, right? There's a chance that you might be an astronomer. There's a chance that you might not be. But because you love it now, follow it and just go for it 100%. What's going to help is you going through the process of learning more and more about astronomy and how it relates to your life, and even having things like, for your birthday or for Christmas, or you could say to yourself, hey, tell your parents, this is what I want. I want a telescope. And that'll do a couple things. That'll let your parents know, wow, wait a minute, she's really interested in this. And that's good for you too, because you get to learn more about how you want to hone your craft and learn more about what you really want to do. But no, I completely hear you. Like you remind me of a young self, just staring off and thinking, wow, how can I do this? I really want to do this. And then you learning more about it, educating yourself more and more, you might realize, wow, I really do love this. Or you could also say, you know what, maybe this isn't the thing for me. But education is key. Learning more, learning is free. You go into Google, you type in astronomy stuff, you could spend the rest of your life learning more about it, and you could literally probably become an astronomer just by what's out there online. So learn more, and that'll fulfill you. Keep learning.
Thank you.
I like that. Learning is free. I like that.
Learning is free.
Now, school always isn't. Lorena is next.
So did you ever question yourself in the beginning? Or did you ever feel like you just wanted to give up when you started building?
Oh, all the time. All the time. I've wanted to give up probably like 10, 15 times already. But you know what I did? Because I'm really passionate about it, I started telling people what I wanted to do. Okay? So I knew that I wanted to rebuild a Tesla. And I knew that it was difficult. And I knew that everyone was just like, you can't do that. By telling people what you want to do, this might not be great advice for everyone, but by me personally telling those that I wanted what I wanted to do, that held me accountable. Because I know that when I said, hey, whatever, Lorena, I want to build this Tesla. And I know in 6 months, when you're like, hey, Rich, where's that Tesla at? I know I'm going to feel a certain type of way where my mission wasn't complete. And that way, it's like a way of like shaming me to do it. It's kind of weird, I know. But for me, that was big, like letting people know, hey, this is what I want to do. This is my mission. And having the people following up and being like, hey, how's it going so far? So like when there's times when I have very little motivation, them saying that, knowing that people were still interested in it, kind of brought me back up. So that was a big thing for me.
So pretty much, or were you said the Tesla company, whenever they came out with the cars, you said that they weren't selling parts they weren't selling parts. Were they pretty much like underestimating the people that were buying the Tesla car? Like they're like, oh, you can't figure out how this car will work. That we have professionals that that do know how these cars work. You just leave it to the professionals, right? Or were they like? Well, I think they were like that. Were they?
There were a couple different ways. The cars at that time, they were brand new. No one really knew how to do anything outside of Tesla. So Tesla was just like, they never thought in a million years. Actually, most people would not think that an individual that has no engineering background, from a paper standpoint, from a university, could be able to do that. So that's not even the first thing in their minds. So they didn't want to sell parts for a couple of reasons. One, they didn't think that a person was capable of fixing it. Number two, they didn't want to sell parts because a lot of the times they didn't even have the parts because the cars were so new. All the parts they'd have would go towards, new cars. And number three, they also did it from a safety standpoint too, because realistically, the cars are so new and there's, their batteries, there's high voltage in the battery pack. A lot of companies and a lot of employees and, CEOs felt that, maybe this isn't a good thing for the general population to do because they might not be aware of the safety protocols that you have to follow to keep yourself safe when working with them. So there's a few reasons why. To follow up on your question about, not being motivated all the time, another thing to do is never be scared to take a break and walk away from something. Don't be scared to walk away and say, you know what, this is too much for me right now. I want to take a quick break, reassess, gain your perspective and say, do I want to keep pursuing this? Doing that at very specific intervals and also have frequent check-ins with yourself and your own mental health is very important. Like if it's something that you feel it's driving you down a certain path that's not healthy for you, or you might realize, hey, let me check in with myself and say, am I still interested in this? If the answer is no, then move on. If it's yes, make a plan to keep going forward. But taking breaks, there's nothing wrong with that.
Krista typed in the chat, you have to keep going and take risks. Okay, that's good, Krista. Also, I want to highlight that Biscuit has made an appearance. Rich, one of our students, Lanaya, has her dog join us from time to time. And I showed her the dog mode that Tesla has.
Yeah.
I let her know some people have bought Teslas just for that reason.
That's a big deal.
She likes that. She's big. Biscuit is a part of STEM now as well.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Lanaya, your dog's name is Biscuit? My dog's name is Biscuit. I have a chocolate lab puppy, and he's 7 months old, and his name is Biscuit. That's funny because you were saying Biscuit, and I was like, why is she talking about my dog? Well, no, I have a dog named Biscuit, chocolate lab, beautiful, beautiful dog, beautiful.
My baby's a Chihuahua.
She said your baby's name Lanaya. There's what? Who's that speaking?
He's it's me because I'm also on my phone because it wasn't working. But he's a Chihuahua.
Oh, Chihuahua. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Next up is Lysandra. Go ahead and unmute, Lysandra. Ask your question. Take your hand down. Oh, I forgot Christian was up. Oh, I didn't forget you. You're next, Christian, after Lysandra.
Okay, so my question was kind of already answered. It was how often did you have to draw back and collect yourself? But you kind of already answered it. So, yeah.
Well, honestly, your results may vary. You could do it as frequently as every day. Every day you wake up, you can say to yourself, is this really what I want to do? But you determine, you're your own person. You determine how many check-ins you want to do. There's no formula online to say, you got to do it every hour, every month. Just make sure you check in with how comfortable you are with kind of talking to yourself a little bit and feeling yourself out.
Go ahead, Christian.
One, I actually think that they should hire you at Tesla for one of the engineers.
Yeah.
And two, what actually made you get in the feeling of becoming like fixing cars?
Christian, I'm going to tell you something very interesting. If Tesla offered me a job right now to work there, I wouldn't do it, because there is a certain type of freedom and joy that I get when I do it myself. Being a trailblazer and working for yourself, Christian, is a feeling that I can't even describe. So to me, that's pretty important. You know what I mean? Like, I may not make as much as if I were to work at Tesla, but it's important to me to kind of stay true to yourself, and I have complete control over the things that I do. How I got into cars, man, my mother was my main influence for getting into cars. But my mother, when she was young, probably like in her mid-20s, she wanted to buy a Corvette. She loved fast cars. She loved Corvettes. She went to the bank to take out money to buy the car. She wanted to buy this car. She wanted it so bad. And she's always had really cool cars. And as a kid, the things that you pick up on now kind of shape the way you're going to be for the rest of your life. So the things you do, the things you're into now, that's more than likely the adult you're going to be. So I was exposed to really cool cars that my mother had. I was like, man, I got to have cool cars too. But the story is, she went to the bank to get the money to buy the car, and then she got sick. She got really, really sick. She went to the hospital to figure out what was wrong, and the doctor said the reason why she was sick was because she was pregnant with me. So as a result of it, when I was born and like I got a little bit older, I think I was in probably like 5 or 6 years ago, I went out and I bought a Corvette as like a tribute to her in a way, because I know that she really wanted one. So I made sure and I went and I got one on my own, and we go for rides in it all the time. That was the biggest influence for me, my mother. Definitely my mother. She loved cars, and it kind of almost like convinced me to get into them too. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Next is one of our staff, Mrs. Banks.
Hello, and thank you so very much for being our speaker.
Of course.
And I just wanted to say your perseverance amazes me. You're truly inspirational. I think not just for these kids, for us as well. So for the adults as well. Also, I had a question. You said that the first time that you got the parts, it was from a wrecked car.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do thereafter? How did you get the parts after that? First time for the other cars that you were getting?
The first car that I did, there were two cars. One that was in a flood that needed all the electronics replaced, and the second donor car that I used to mix the two together to make into one car. Going forward, I started continually buying wrecked Teslas, taking all the parts off and harvesting them. And that helped us too, because when I was starting the business, the garage, we actually used those parts to end up fixing customer cars too. And then slowly but surely, I think Tesla started watching a lot of my videos, and they said to themselves, I think because this individual is making a larger splash than we ever thought was possible, we're going to allow people to buy parts for our cars now. So now Tesla does allow it. So before they didn't, but now they did. They do.
I see. Thank you so much. Thank
course.
you. Sorry, kids, I stole him from you. Go ahead.
Next is, again, Paulinci with her question.
It's not really a question, but like, I lose interest in things really, really quickly. Like, one day I'm really interested in like writing a book, and the next I'm like, nah. And then I get really motivated to do it. And then when I start, I'm just like, you know what, never mind. And then I just feel bad that, I didn't pursue it, but yeah.
I am the same exact way. My mind goes 1,000 miles an hour. I have ADHD, and I'm just like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's that? Oh, look at this, a squirrel. Oh, look, a tree. I'm all over the place. And there was a certain point where, I went to the doctor and they said, hey, what do you want to do about this? And I love the way that I am. I love being in like a million different things at once. It kind of shapes the personality, and it shapes the person who I am today. So there's nothing wrong with your mind running. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to do several things at once. provided it doesn't affect you and like your well-being as a human being. So let your imagination and thoughts run wild, but there's going to be a certain point where you're going to find that thing and stick with it. If you know that you really want to do something and you want to stick with it, but you're having a hard time like focusing on that one thing, that's when you should say to yourself, okay, how can I do this? Do I want to seek external help, or do I want to manage it on my own? So I'm the same exact way. You should see, I probably have, no joke, because I can't make up my mind. At this point in time, I think I own 13 cars. 13. Because I can't, I'm just like, oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want that. And the crazy part is, even though we're here to talk about Tesla stuff, I don't drive a Tesla anymore. The Tesla that I built first, I gave to my daughter. Tesla was cool, but I'm the same exact way. Tesla is what helped me make me the person I am today. So you would think I drive one forever. My daughter drives it now.
Amaya says that's cool. Yeah. That's what Amaya just put in the chat. All right, Miss Milton, she has a question. Miss Milton.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time out to speak to the kids. My question is, and I'm driving, so sorry. My question is, on the cars that you fix, look for customers that currently have their Teslas, have they run into any kind of warranty issues, or Tesla not do service on them because you and that's if you fixed it and they don't want Tesla people fixing it? Have you run into any problems, or have they run into any problems like that?
The very good question. The good thing is that our philosophy for fixing the cars is all of our techs, the techs that we have in the Northeast, in New Hampshire, and as well as in Florida, they're former Tesla employees. So they used to work for Tesla. So Chris, my business partner, Chad, my business partner, they're two former Tesla techs. So the way they fix cars, it's just as good as Tesla. And we have yet to have an experience where someone says, oh, no, this isn't covered under warranty because it was fixed elsewhere. A lot of the cars that we get are cars that were in accidents prior, and Tesla wants nothing to do with them. So customers come to us and they love it because Tesla won't fix those cars. We're kind of like the land of the lost toys, where they come to us to fix them instead. But for the most part, even for newer cars, we haven't had any issues with voiding warranties. There's certain things you can do to avoid the warranty, like putting in a bigger battery pack or putting in a different motor. But for the most part, the people that come to us, they come to us for things like servicing of brakes, tires, and like minor fixes with electronics, like parking sensors and minor computer issues. Anything major, a lot of the times it will go back to Tesla unless it's no longer under warranty.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Ms. Banks, do you have another question?
No, I'm sorry. I forgot to take your hand down.
Okay. All right. So in keeping with time, because I know Mr. Benoit has a busy day. It's Friday. It's usually his car day. So I'm going to ask you my questions, two of the questions from my original email. Then I'm going to let you be dismissed. Oh, we're going to take a picture. Then I'm going to let you go. And then I'm going to have to say some things about our field trip. We're going on a field trip to Kennedy Space Center next Saturday. So I don't want to keep you for all of that.
That's cool.
I don't want everybody just to fly off the Google Meet. So my question was, I remember, well, actually, this was a question. Your last name is Benoit and you're in the Boston area. Is it possible that you're of Haitian descent?
Everyone asks me that. I am not of Haitian descent. No. It's like if people ask if I speak Creole. I do not. I wish I did because I feel, kind of silly not knowing how to speak another language. But no, I'm not.
Okay. That was my thought.
I know. It's exactly. I don't speak another. Don't tell anyone. I don't speak another language. Just English.
In Florida, you would have got a lot of points. We still get points, but I'm just saying it's a big deal. But you're in Boston, so you already know.
I know. I already know.
For those from Florida who don't know, outside of Florida, Boston has the largest Haitian population, even larger than New York, and that's pretty big because it's always Florida, South Florida specifically, Boston, then New York City, in America that has the largest Haitian migration population. And then it's Canada, I think France. my other question is, now that you are working on so many electrical cars, so EV stands for electric vehicle. I've been messing that up all week. Do you have thoughts about making your own electrical vehicle?
Oh man, so I have converted several vehicles to go from gas to electric already. In terms of making my own vehicle from scratch, I've thought about it. I've really thought about it. I don't know if I'm there just yet, but I want to. I think it'd be really cool, but it's a matter of figuring out, how do I make something that says me? How do you make something that doesn't already exist? That's your own style and flavor, because there's millions of cars out there and I don't want to copy their design. I want to do my own. So there's a lot of thinking about it. A lot of thinking to do.
All right, it's 3:11. I don't do so well during our regular week. I go way over with the teachers, but with you, I want to stick to that. Daryl. All right, you see, I was trying to wrap up, sir, but this bottom one. Okay. All right, I was going to say, I'm going to let Daryl get the last question, but what I was going to say was, as I was thinking out loud, I think it's well worth at least me looking into, I don't know, we're having a STEM fair. I would love to invite Electrified Garage to come up. It's the last week of May, or maybe come down to them. I'm thinking, I'm still in the process of, visualizing. The kids know I put everything on the wall behind me and see what works out, because I see it in my mind first. But I'm so glad. I don't want to keep talking. I'm going to let Daryl ask his question. Go ahead, Daryl, because you got in at the buzzer.
Shot clock.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Mr. Rich, I think it's just an idea. You should base your car design, if you ever do get to that point, that base your design on your personality. Like if you have a bold personality, you should make your car colors or something.
Your Wi-Fi is making you break up,
base
Daryl.
the car and your personality.
You kind of cut out. Base the car off what again? Or you could put it in the chat too, so I could read it.
There you go.
Based off biscuit. That's what I said. Based off biscuit. Daryl said, okay, we're breaking up right in the chat. Okay. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Benoit. It's 3:13. I want to say thank you so much. Thank you is not enough, really, for you to, one, actually, I really was expecting to get your assistant or somebody else. Something that I told the kids that I really love about your videos, besides the fact that based on your car design, on your personality, he said, base your car designs on your personality.
I could do that. I don't know what that entails for me, because my personality is all over the place, but yeah, I could think of something clever, I'm sure. Sorry, you were saying, sorry, go on.
Yeah, but something I love that I see, and I tried to watch as many videos this week as I could to get abreast about you as much as possible. It's a lot of videos, but
There's a lot there.
you give back. You're very altruistic. You're very kind, and as somebody who the staff that works, Mr. Coleman is here, Mrs. Banks is here, Mrs. Marks is here, Miss Milton is here. I'm here. We work with kids because we love. This is what we do. We love what we do, and we have a passion for it. So as you're talking, like I said in the email, what comes from the heart reaches the heart, and I could tell when in your interviews, like you're like, hey, if Tesla comes for me, I don't care. I like helping people, and without you as a future Tesla owner, I would not know the roadblocks. Like kind of like they could just they have a monopoly. Like I would never know that. And so that's good to know that you're bringing that level of democracy to the Tesla brand, to EV. Like it really is something important. We need to have that level of equity in that world, because it's a phenomenal car. And I know you know that because you have several of them and your daughter drives one. So you can love something and actually justly critique it. And it doesn't have to be a monarchy. And that's what I got. I understood. Like you respectfully are saying that despite what the Musketeers are telling you, right?
That's
So,
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to say, keep doing a great work. One of these kids are going to be the future them. And I'm so glad that you inspired us. You inspired us as adults. You inspired these kids. But if you have any last words, you can say them, but we're going to take our group photo. Any last words? Because I'd rather let you be the last one to speak than me.
I hope that this meeting has helped you all in some way, to talk to another person like me that, looks a little bit like you guys. It's kind of come from the same area and the same place in life. My biggest hope for you kids is for someday I work for one of you. Wow. That's what I really want. I want to work for one of you. I want you all to be so smart and just so with it, so with tech and just so successful. That's what I wish for all of you. So make me want to work. I want to see one of your names be like, oh, I remember this interview. I want to work for them. I think that'd be cool.
Okay. When Daryl makes a car with his personality and you work for them, right? Or when Lanaya names her car after Biscuit, and then we know why. Okay. For all of you who are able to, please turn your cameras on so I can get a legitimate picture with some faces. Okay. All right. Okay. Fluff the hair up, girl. Let them know. They putting on lip gloss. You're looking real. Oh, okay. Maya got on all her rings and her bows. Okay. I don't want to see ceilings and lights. I don't want to see puffs. I want to see faces. 1, 2. All right, Biscuit in there. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Hope I'm pressing the right button. All right. Okay. All right, y'all. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you. You guys can unmute and give him a round of applause. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, the dog is laughing. All right. Thank you, sir. You are dismissed. Everybody else can stay, though. Thank you.
Right. Thank you all very much.
Benoit, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to stop our record. I'll stop our recording.